Hello, hi. So can I ask Pramod to join me on stage, please? Can I have a big round of applause for Pramod? He's so passionate about Hyderabad, the entrepreneurs here. And so when we were thinking about doing the panel, then Pramod said, I really want to moderate a panel. I've never seen him moderate any panel, and I thought you were introvert, but then I think you're so passionate and you just want to do this. So I would give you the opportunity to introduce the next amazing panelists, some of my favorite entrepreneurs. I would leave you leave you that opportunity to do that.
Here? Okay. Now, next panel is three amazing people I know personally. The first one is Mahima, of course. She has built a fabulous business, has been running biologically 70-year-old business, phenomenal second largest vaccine manufacturer in the country. I keep asking every time I meet her that why are you not listed? Had you been listed, you would be one of the largest companies in the country, right? But they want to remain private. So that's an amazing story, wonderful story to reveal. We have Raj. Raj has built, I have heard his story. I think he joined the business at 21 years, built a phenomenal business, sold it to one of the toughest buyers in the country, Adani's, right? Took out $1 billion from them. It's really hard, right? So every time I need some due diligence to be done, I just give him the name of the company, and he can just in 24 hours he'll turn around and say this is the problem with this company. Like great guy, phenomenal person to deal with. Of course, we have Chiranjeev here. I know them. I know his father. They have built Premier Energies, one of the largest listed companies out of Hyderabad in solar business. For 30 plus years of hard work really paid off. I'm so amazed, I was in Kotak Bank when I met them, and I was so keen on investing. Unfortunately, I didn't have the money at that time, and they were going through stress about 7 years back, and then a private equity came. They made 33 times in 4 years. That's an amazing story. What a phenomenal business they've built. So really proud and happy to have you all. So first question is for Mahima. The world used to outsource its health to whoever was cheapest. Now every country wants to own its own vaccine supply. Did biologically become more valuable because it got better, or because the world got more cautious?
First of all, thank you for inviting me. I know Pramod and me bantered quite a bit about should we do this, should we not do this, so thanks again for having me. Let me tell you a little story. Back in the day, all vaccine manufacturing actually used to be run by government-owned institutes. And they were not very sustainable because you need scale to make vaccines really accessible. Not just that, I think because they weren't very efficient, they weren't able to invest in innovation to make sure that they had a pipeline. So even up until a decade ago, countries actually exited their vaccine business, so to speak. And it's not until COVID that they realized how vulnerable they were, and because of supply security, they've been talking about, reinvesting in vaccine manufacturing. But I continue to believe that it's a resource-constrained environment, and the economics of, vaccine manufacturing are not going to subsidize investments in smaller countries with, smaller birth cohorts. So they'll continue to rely on very efficient health interventions that are economical. So in that sense, I think we'll go through a very painful learning curve where some investments, unfortunately, will not fructify into countries' desire to have supply security. And then once the dust settles, it will come back to where it is. But if you ask me if that's what was instrumental in creating value, I don't think so. I think it's impact that's driven value creation. And they've not been mutually exclusive. I've been grateful that they're not mutually exclusive in that sense. And it's very hard to imagine with everything else going on, but from my lens, the world is actually less scary and it's actually safer and healthier.
Yeah, I just want to add one anecdote. So I was having a chat with Dr. Poonawal a couple of days back. I was just telling him that I'm moderating a panel where you're there, and knowing him, know Poonawal he is. One thing that he clearly said is, hi, Mr. Ella.
Yeah.
So
we are so proud to have two of the largest vaccine manufacturers out of Hyderabad. Dr. Ella is here.
Can I have a big round of applause for Mr. Ella, please, everyone here. So he was telling me that he has massive respect for what you built, and coming from him, it is gold. So I just wanted to share that anecdote which happened a couple of days back. So my question is to Ms. Saluja. I visited your factory, fantastic, and you're also bringing your family to the business. Your daughter, Sani, she's also doing some great job with you. 2 years ago, India was importing about 80% of solar cells from China. Now, Premier Energy is scaling gigawatts of domestic capacity. Is this genuine industrial transformation, or are we simply riding a tariff wall?
So, Anas, it's important to understand one aspect, that renewable energy is critical for the Indian economy. As we speak today, there is 55 gigawatt of solar getting installed in India every year, which is like 2 lakh crore of investment year on year. And if you look at the manufacturing space, we employ in the solar sector about 500,000 people as direct jobs. So this is indeed transformation at scale. All this started a couple of years ago when India really pushed for Make in India and the Atmanirbhar. We've seen this happening. Renewables and solar is moving us away from fossil fuels, fighting climate change. What India is doing is the right way, not to rely on imports for energy security. Today, renewables are the cheapest source of power. And what we are also seeing is other countries are following the India model to boost domestic manufacturing. So I think this is great work which the government of India is doing, and the kind of manufacturing which is coming up in India.
I think I'm super bullish on solar as a business for India, because that is the only resource we have abundant, right? I think we have to go full solar as a country.
I think the only way to solve all these wars in the world is energy transition.
Yes, absolutely.
Pun intended. So Raj, you want to say?
Yeah. I think Raj has, of course, built a fabulous business, sold it, now running full-time family office, looking for investment opportunities. One of the smartest guys I've met. And very, very quick turnaround.
So all the space tech entrepreneurs should meet.
Yeah,
Raj.
Absolutely. They should meet. They should meet Raj. Raj, you deploy capital where dislocation creates value. Right now, every pitch deck says China +1. How much of it is real, and how much have you already seen that hype is fading already?
First of all, thank you, Pramod and Anas, for the kind words. Coming to China +1, I think it's 30% reality, and the rest is hype, at least on the ground. Most of the companies that have put a second leg in India, with the primary leg being in China, are mostly assembly factories and the last leg of manufacturing, not the primary component manufacturing. Same goes to the solar industries as well. Mr. Saluja is really excellent in bringing up innovative panels and cells. But what India is lacking is battery energy storage systems. We are lacking behind in upstream technologies that we use in the battery energy storage systems, like lithium-ion refineries or sodium-ion refineries. All these are happening in China, despite them not having the mines in China. they're importing from Australia, they're importing from other countries, refining them and selling to countries like India. And we are still dependent on China.
Yeah.
So I don't think the China Plus One has actually played out really well. Few of the manufacturers, let's say Foxconn or iPhone manufacturing, has set up assembly units, but not from ground up.
Yeah. I think Raj said it well of Zagal. He said, we need to invest much more on innovation than just copy pasting already existing technology and mass producing it. I think we need to innovate a lot.
Totally agree.
I think the next question is planning in chaos. I think this panel is about building in a fractured world, right? I think one of the interesting things is the customers that you're supplying to, the very government might sanction you the next day. So it's a very complicated sort of world that we're operating in. So how do you work in such chaos and entropy? How do you take decisions? Maybe Mahima, you could start and then.
Okay, so in the vaccine part of the business, I think things remained pretty predictable from a tariff standpoint, but not in the generics injectable business, which is much more US and European centric. So for a long time, we just wanted to wait it out, because you know that, especially in the pharmaceutical space, the US end consumer is going to end up paying a lot. So there was a strong feeling that this was being leveraged for a broader negotiation. So in many ways, we wanted, again, the dust to settle a little bit. But it felt like being caught between the devil and the deep sea. Because API pricing, you're dependent on China, which is also subject to tariffs. And of course, at the consumer end, it was this. But it made us start thinking about, how do you deploy capacity and allocate it to other potential manufacturing opportunities. Having said that, I think the generics business has issues that are structural and beyond tariffs. But yeah, it created a great deal of uncertainty.
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, I do agree with you, Anas, that we are, living in uncertain times. Armed conflicts, supply chain disruption. But I think we have been lucky. At Premier, we had seen this several years ago, and our focus was, and what we've achieved today is that 100% of our market is India. There is a huge local consumption and demand. So we are not dependent on the export market as such. We keep exploring export opportunities, but I agree with you that with tariffs being announced every other day, you do not know how this will disrupt your business. What is also important in this uncertain time is to be nimble and be, have financial prudence so that you're able to sustain and keep growing and focus on the Indian market is what we are doing.
It doesn't apply to me because
For you, it'd be more from an investing standpoint, right?
investing standpoint, I would more concentrate on Indian demography than cross-border demographic companies, because given the uncertain times and like you were saying, you wake up to a bad news, you wake up to a good news, you never know. So I'm more focused on companies that are serving within India and not exposed to all these tariff games.
No, I have one question I want to ask both of you, and you can give an outsider perspective from an investment standpoint. So, Mahima, your company stayed private all this while. Would you ever go public? Have you considered going public? And Ms. Saluja, you've taken a company public. I know that you are very happy that you took your company public, and you like the way the company transitioned from staying, having institutional investor, then going public and so on. So, would you, given a chance, would you take it back private, or would you still continue this journey? I want to hear from both of your perspectives on how it is. And what about you? Would you, current uncertainty, would you invest in a long-term, profitable private business like biologically, or look at listed growing business like, Premier? How would you look at that as well? So I want to hear from all of you this.
So maybe I'll start. I've learned painfully never to say never. Okay. It's just that the vaccine business doesn't lend itself really well to going public. Investor expectations run on a quarterly basis, and our business doesn't. Having said that, it's extremely capital intensive, long gestation periods in terms of product development. So it's painful to do it staying a private company when things don't go well, right? In our case, though, we actually have 3 distinct businesses within the main company. One is the smaller but traditional DOM form business. The other is the complex injectables, different customers, different risks, and of course the main one, which is vaccine. And each of these have very different risks, very different capital needs. So we're just in the process of restructuring these businesses such that, we're dropping them down. So it gives us the ability, each of these businesses, the ability to raise capital in whatever means necessary. But the main idea is to also give it focus. Having said that, the vaccine space also is undergoing a lot of transformation in terms of what types of infectious disease problems remain to be solved. So I suspect we'll be incubating some technologies there that if required, or if there's a M&A opportunity, which is extremely rare in the space, we would look at, what's the risk appetite and capital requirements and make whatever decisions are necessary at that point.
Or we could buy a movie production house.
One of the arguments...
someone said it earlier, just, do what you do well and kind of stick with it. And I think we're looking at adjacent things, but yeah, that doesn't seem very adjacent to me.
So one of the arguments I've heard about vaccine companies is earnings are pretty lumpy. And that is the reason they don't want to go public, right? Of course, market has matured. Indian markets are matured, and they can understand the lumpiness of the business. And that's one of the reasons most of the vaccine companies were private, right? Even Dr. Illa's company, whenever I used to go and meet his team, I used to ask them, why you are not listed? Such a phenomenally profitable business. But they used to give me the same argument. But now I think they are going public. I saw some articles. So I'm sure you also can go and list the company.
I'll just say this. There's another angle to this that's very important to our family. The vaccine business has tremendous impact. And when you take, external investment, sometimes the shareholder expectations align differently. And then it's incumbent on you to deliver highest value to your shareholders. Staying private has given us the ability to kind of run the business with our head, but also our heart. So, as long as we find investors that, thank you, but as long as there are investors who align with this, I don't think it should be restrictive. Capital is needed, and yeah.
Amazing.
Your argument for going public.
No, there are pros and cons, right? If you ask me, after going public, there is a huge sense of responsibility. And we had a bigger challenge as we were the first ones in the solar manufacturing sector to get listed on the main board. Markets did not understand this business, so it was very difficult. Most of my time went in explaining how this business runs. As ma'am said, every quarter there is a pressure, and markets are ruthless. So. Recently there was an announcement of tariffs by Trump, and a company like ours, which has got zero exposure to exports, the stock was down 10%. And people called me and I said, great opportunity, you buy it. And then some people took my advice. And so I agree with ma'am that if you are not listed, you have more freedom to do things more innovatively. When you are listed, you have to be in that boundary, and you have to have a more responsible kind of a structure. You were asking him where to invest. I think both are totally different sectors. We were lucky that we had a great private equity investor who came in 2021. At that time, we were not sure whether we were doing the right thing or wrong thing. We were running this business for 30 years now. And when the private equity came, they were really helpful in helping us structure, move from a family-run company to be a professionally run company. In fact, they made 45 times, not 33.
45,
in 3 years.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So, but we are happy for them. So, sometimes
Fantastic.
private equity guys make great money in some deals. So this was one of the lucky deals where we were also very lucky that we had private equity. So IPO was more, easy because they were on the board. So there are pros and cons. I wouldn't say one is good or one is bad. Of course, access to capital becomes better once you're listed.
I mean, both the sectors I'm very much interested, but at the end of the day, most of the at least the vaccine companies never get listed. So you never have access to them. And Premier Energies, I'm invested passively, at least.
Yeah. So, of course, the most important, where does your money go? And where do you invest, all of you, right? Beyond your core business, of course, you've been running, both of you, and of course, he was also running his business until he started his family office. Which are the sectors you're looking for? Which are the geographies you're looking for investments right now? What is the most exciting thing, other than your core business, for investments which you're looking out for?
And the question is right now, right? So
Yeah.
right now, what are you looking at? Considering all that's happening in the fractured world.
Sure. You want me to go first?
Yeah, Raj is already actively looking for investments.
I
so-
would take Dr. Raj's word and add to it, and that India is where few of the sectors we are lacking innovation. Especially, I feel in healthcare, we do not have any companies that manufacture healthcare technological equipment, therapeutical equipment, like say MRI machines or CT scans or radiation machines for cancer. We still depend heavily on machines that are imported from Korea or China or Japan. People have moved from LENAC machines to proton machines, and we have hardly 3 machines in India that have proton radiation. And there's a new company I was telling Shaji the other day about, is histotripsy. That's a new technology that targets cancer tumors through ultrasound, and purely ultrasound, high intensity ultrasound. At the end of the day, I believe, with my personal experience, that cancer treatment doesn't end with just being cured. You also need to look into whether you're resulting in any collateral damage, permanent collateral damage. So healthcare technologies are where India is lacking in, and these are high margin technologies that we can really scale up and manufacture. So I'm looking into defense as well, as you're aware. So it's 2 extreme edges of the sword, but
Defense would be companies like Indrajal and Drone, LAT, and
yeah. I mean, gone are the days where boots on the ground wars.
Yeah, so we, sticking to our core business, as what Sir was saying, that, the view which people have on solar industries, it's more of an assembly business, and to go into backward integration, because of course solar panels is an assembly business, but when you get into solar cells, you're getting into technology. There's it's a semiconductor kind of a setup. You have process gases, chemicals, you've seen the factory. So we are getting into further backward integration. That is, so we have moved from 80% import from China to 50% as we speak today. And with our new ingot and wafer factory, we would go down to almost 20% of reliance on China. And then we're also getting into ancillary products, which are aligned with what we do, like we acquired a transformer company, we're getting into battery energy storage systems, solar inverters. So these are all allied products which, so we have the same customer whom we deal with. So a customer acquisition cost comes down, and that's where we're looking at vertical integration, scale, and aligning with what we're doing.
My only regret is I had enough wisdom about 7-8 years back to invest in this company. Probably I would have made tons of money, right? Mahima.
So we've been really sticking to the core business, 15 to 18% in R&D, which is quite large at our scale. On the personal side, I'm learning, baby steps. I have some good teachers. But I would say that it starts with the person, the entrepreneur themselves, their energy and integrity. And if the business can scale, right, because that's what added a lot of value to ours. So that's kind of, intuitively what I look for. Yeah, that's so baby steps.
I think one of the incentives of our job, like we are wealth managers, right? We meet a lot of entrepreneurs. I get excited every day by meeting new company. I wish I had invested. I want to invest now. So, it's amazing. So I love my job. And I think Shahji and we're planning to build phenomenally great business in Neo as well. So looking forward to really investing early on in these kind of companies, which I think we showcase 4 great ideas, right, in the sky, in the space tech and defense business. Great companies coming out of Hyderabad. We're really, really happy.
Can we have a big round of applause to all the panelists, please? Thank you.